right, so we're now asked to update our program and to write the user's name to a text file. So many of you will not have seen how to write to a text file. So I just want to run through this because we will be looking at this later in the course, but I just kind of want to give you a heads up on how this can be done. So again, I'm going to copy my code from my last version. And it says that I need to write a function that will write this information to the text file. So after we have established who this person is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call a function and I'm going to send it the user's name. So I'm going to call a function called a running log. So after this function here, define, I'm going to call it running log. And this is going to be the data that will be print to my running log. So I create the function. I've decided on a parameter called data that will receive the information that's to be written to the log. I just have pass. So here I'm going to try calling my function, and it's going to be called running log, and I have to send it some info. If I just try that, let me try that. Type error. Running log is missing one required positional argument called data. Because my running log function requires information to be sent to it, I have to send it when I call it. So if I put here, I'm going to send it the name to be written. So now, how am I going to write to files? Well, we have to create a connection to the file in the form of a variable. A very common variable name is called SN for stream number, SN. And you can have multiple connections to multiple files. And I think this is originally you had to have, like you have stream number 1, stream number 2, stream number 3. Any variable will work, but you'll often find this variable SN for stream number to be a variable connected to a file. So I'm going to open a file. The name of the file says it has to be usernames.txt. And it takes an attribute called W. So R is for read, W is for write. So we can open up a file to read or to write, W is to write. So this is the name of the file. I've opened it up. Once it's there, I can SN, and what I can do is I can now write to that information, and I can write the data that I want to write. Data. And once it's been written, then I'm done with the file, so I want to close it. SN.close. So I create a variable called SN, and I attach a connection to this file which I've opened in write mode. Now that it's open, I can take that same variable and write data to it. And now that I'm done, I close the file. Note that at this point, usernames does not exist. So if the file does not exist, it will create a file. If it does exist, then it will go back to that file. So if I run it now, notice how we only have 2 files here. If I run now, syntax error. Oh, that's not supposed to be colon, that's supposed to be a comment. Welcome, John. What is the first number? And usernames.txt appeared, and if I click on that, John is there. All right, first number 2 and 4. No. All right, so my file is there. I'm going to run it again because we want to keep track of all the people that have run my program. This time it's Mary. Welcome, Mary. What is the first number? 4, 4. No. If I come back now, Mary's there, but John has been erased. And it turns out that W is for write, but it will overwrite any info file. So might be useful depending upon what your purpose of your program is. Sometimes you want to erase that previous information. But in this case, we're told to add it. We want to keep a running log. So there's actually a third option. W is for read. A is for append. W is to write. So if I open this in append mode, then that allows me to add to whatever was already on the file. So currently I have the file Mary. If I run it now, and John is in the program, I come back, I get Mary John, and then what's the problem with this, right? So what happens when Joanne comes? Well, now when I go through my names, I got Mary, I got John, I got a Joe, and I got an Ann. Or do I have a Joanne, or do I have a John Joe? There's no real way of defining where one word begins and another ends. Now with names, it's a little bit easier because of capitals, but we saw that Joanne could be a compound word. So this isn't typically how we would separate our information. Normally what we want to do is we have to add some sort of a delimiter, some sort of piece of information at the end of our set of data, so we recognize that's the end. So not only are we going to write the data, but we're going to add to that data, and this is going to come back, our escape character, a new line. So we saw that back in part A, I think. I'll just pause this. Okay, sorry, I just had prayer. So I add a new line after each name, and that will make it easier to see what's going on there. So I'll start from scratch. So in this case, it's the text file is still there, but now it's empty. And I run it, and John. Oops. Notice that John was still written because the error, the name was successfully inputted. Put my name in, and then it wrote the name of the file. Called it running log, wrote it, and I closed my file. And then I made a mistake because I didn't hit enter between the 4 and the N. Let me run it again. Mary. And now I've got John and Mary, and after Mary, it created a new line, and that's why there's now a line 3 that's there, because it's currently on a new line. I'll run again. And Ann has been added, and a new line again. So this is how we can open a text file to read information. So in the same way I could read information that's on a file. In this case, I've opened it for append mode. So it says leave whatever is in the file and then add this at the end of it. Or you can write, which means open up the file, erase whatever is the contents, and replace it with the whatever I'm going to write down here. Later, we'll see how we can loop through, and so we can add multiple things in one go. But that's just a quick overview of how we can write information to a text file. So you can imagine writing high scores to a game. This is memory that will be available every time you run the program. You can have information stored in a file and read that information in, as opposed to having it all lost every time you start the program. You don't have to start from scratch.